Hello, everybody. It's Howard the Teaser King. Little bright picture. Sorry about that. That's better. Coming to you with college football for week 4. I did the recap of last week's action. I watched a lot of games on YouTube. You can watch the games in a little 15-minute capsule where they go through most of the big plays. They don't show you every down, but the key first downs and things. And this way you can watch. Like I watched the Marshall ending where they were up 38 to 21, and East Carolina scores 3 touchdowns, and Marshall misses a field goal, and the game ends on the East Carolina goal line with Marshall going for the win. Although we were leaning 4, so that didn't matter. But they did blow a big lead. But you can see what happened. What I got out of it is Marshall's got a hell of a running back and a hell of a quarterback. They didn't have a problem scoring. So you take things like that out that you really can't see in the box score and you really can't see in the game. So Marshall against teams in conference are going to be a very strong dog. I watched USC. Slovis goes down. The quarterback comes in, looks great. So a lot of it is the hidden unknown with college is the backup quarterback, right? How's he going to play? Fresno State, their quarterback gets hurt, hurts his hip, maybe 3 or 4, throws a touchdown. Then they get the ball back from UCLA down a few points. I think UCLA scores a touchdown. Fresno State drives down and wins it with a touchdown with no time remaining. And the quarterback's nailed. I mean, he's in a lot of pain, but he still throws the ball for a touchdown. So this week, is he going to play? And if he doesn't play, how good's their backup? And this is what we'll find out. So that's why I watch a lot of these games. Going through this, what I've been looking at is a lot of the trends and stats. So like teams with really strong offenses, teams with really weak offenses. So like an example is like Baylor, Western Kentucky have really strong 500 yards of offense in the game. And then I look at the teams with terrible weak offenses like Navy, UConn, South Florida, where their quarterback, South Florida, the quarterback doesn't even throw for 100 yards a game. The team barely gets, I don't even know if they get 300 a game. Well, that's what I want to bet against. Now, you still have to adjust because this early in the season, are they playing high school teams? And I call like the Nebraska Wagner game like they're playing a high school team. So you don't want to get that too much into your stats. So right about now, maybe at the end of this week, you'll have a really good feeling of the teams. Nebraska, Oklahoma. Okay, I got a pretty good feel on that. Michigan State, Miami. So you get pretty good ideas, even though you still have teams playing these really weak teams. You still have a pretty good idea. Hey, sports betting and poker. Hello. Let me know if you have any questions. So I'm going to give a couple picks in this game and a couple of opinions that aren't really picks, but they're opinions. Because a lot of people, there's so much on the board now with college. I mean, there's 130 teams now, and about 15, 20 play Division II. So you got a good 40 games, and Air Force, Florida, Atlanta. Who the hell knows what's going to happen there? Those are the games that you kind of watch and learn, but other games you don't. So let's go to the first game that I like that I'm playing. This is a pick, is Marshall App State. App State's laying 7.5, and I know they played Miami close and lost. But after watching that Marshall East Carolina game, what I got out of it is you're not stopping Marshall. This running back Ali is who can I? He's a little scat back. Who can I put him to in the pros? It's almost like Hill on Kansas City, but as a running back. I mean, he's fast. He's got moves. You can't tackle him. So you got a guy like that. I mean, that's who I want to bet on. So the first place take the App State's -7.5, 58. I definitely like the dog in this game. I like Marshall getting 13.5. I have App State as an A and Marshall as a B, only because they didn't hold the lead against East Carr, but there's no way App State's going to hold them. It'll be a close game, but even if they're down, Marshall can score. They got offense all over. So App State will not stop Marshall. It'll be a close game. Marshall can easily win. So in that case, I like taking a Marshall and 13.5 because I think it's an even game. And I think that, App State's got a pretty decent defense, but I just see that Marshall has a chance to win. They're a very good team. Again, they got the new coach, so he screwed up last week letting them blow the lead, but they're going to score a lot of points here. So I like Marshall getting the 13.5. Just a comment on Notre Dame, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 6.5, 46. The game's in Chicago at Wrigley Field. The game is not at Wisconsin. And that's a huge advantage for Notre Dame because it's a grass field, which they play on. It'll slow Wisconsin down, who plays on artificial turf. Wisconsin has a great defense, but I find their weakness was when Penn State threw on them. That's their weakness on defense, and Notre Dame can throw the ball on them. And also the hidden little gem to this is Notre Dame's quarterback was Wisconsin's quarterback. So if anybody knows how to beat the defense, it's going to be the ex-quarterback. So look for Notre Dame to hang in this game. It's a Notre Dame thing to be really upset when they're the underdog, which they are here. So you got Notre Dame as a road dog, but you get Wisconsin, who doesn't blow out a lot of teams, and they win a lot of games at home. Not on the road. They're not as strong, again, because of the turf. I look for this game to be pretty close, and I like Notre Dame that with 12.5. I think they'll keep the game close. It's Notre Dame. They got pride. They got a well-coached team, probably a better coach than Wisconsin's coach. And I love the dog. I was hoping Wisconsin was the dog, but I think that spread's way too. I had Wisconsin laying 3. Again, it's a neutral field. 6.5. Where's that coming from? Notre Dame has a better quarterback. The defense, I'm sure Notre Dame will come up with a good run defense. Wisconsin might get a few plays in. But it'll be like the Penn State game where it was a close game, low scoring. And so points are at a premium. Notre Dame can score. They got a good quarterback. They'll find a way to score on them. I don't think anybody gets over 20 in the game, and I get 13.5, 12.5 points. Yeah, I definitely like Notre Dame there. Here's a spread that I don't understand. Toledo is playing Ball State. And you're like, Howard, what are you talking about that game for? Well, I got Ball State rated as a Z. I got their offense that doesn't get 300 yards. I got Toledo, who almost beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They put up 29 points. I get them rated higher. Both teams have pretty good defenses, and the spread's only 4.5. I got Ball State as a Z. They don't score a lot, and they give up a lot. And Toledo, who, like I said, you can only measure them by the Notre Dame game. I just think that spread's I had Toledo -7 at Ball State, and they're only laying 4.5. Now, here's where you got to know your MAC, and this is why I study all the conferences. Ball State's just a weak team. Them and Akron are the worst two teams there. So I like Toledo there, only laying 4.5. You're actually getting 1.5 in a teaser against Ball State. There's no way Ball State's going to win this game. They're a terrible team. They don't have any offense. Even their quarterback, let's see. No, the quarterback might be okay. I'm doing a thing on quarterbacks that don't throw for 125 yards, but I don't see them on there, but I might not have gotten to them yet. And I'm doing quarterbacks that throw for over 200. So I'm trying to get like high scoring teams against weak teams with weak quarterbacks. Those are usually my locks, but each year you got to figure them out. You got to learn team personality every year. That's the key to it, and it changes. So again, Michigan was embarrassed last year, and they're playing very well. And you just got to look for teams like that. Now, Clemson's not that good this year. Ohio State, questionable this year. They'll be much better next year, but it's just you bring in the new quarterbacks, they're just not as strong, and they're quarterback-driven offenses. So without the good quarterback, they just don't show. So teams that are good that had bad years are also what I look for. Let's see. Coastal Carolina and UMass. I love Coastal Carolina. Grayson, great quarterback. They're laying 35 here, over under 67. It's a tough one because UMass has been scoring points. Normally, like the UMass and the Connecticut's that couldn't score. I mean, they just get blown out every year. They're laying, would you take Texas Tech plus 10? Yeah, I'd take Texas Tech I'd take them plus 10. Is it 10? Tease them, get them plus 16. A team like UMass is, if they start to score, see, this is the problem. You get the big lead, right? You get your Coastal Carolina will put up 50 points in this game. Then UMass gets a couple of late touchdowns, like happened against Army last week with Connecticut, and they get the backdoor cover. So it's hard to lay 35. Coastal Carolina is a very good team, an over team, a great quarterback. They score. This is a big league team. They're the ones that beat BYU last year. Are they going to handle 35 points? You cut it down to 29. It's a close, they'll probably win by 40, but it's tough. You don't know how Mass is going to do it. Mass has been scoring points, so they got a little better quarterback, so you really don't know. It's a tough one there to play. Army, Miami of Ohio. Now here I like Army because Army's different this year. They're scoring a ton of points. They put up 40 every game this year. Their defense is okay. But Miami of Ohio, I think, beat them last year or 2 years ago. I had Army locked, laying 6.5. They were laying 1.5 against Miami of Ohio, and they're winning at the end of the game. Miami of Ohio gets the touchdown and the 2-pointer to lose. But Army's quarterback, a half hour before the game, sits out. He tried to go, he wasn't, and that was it. So it ends up that Army lost to Miami of Ohio. So it's a little bit revenge, but the way Army's playing, Miami, they'll score 20, give up 20. They're not a strong team. Cincinnati killed them. I look for Army to win the game here, just because they're scoring so much. You get Army scoring a lot. See, the last couple of years, I just played Army under and won 99% of the time. And then all of a sudden they're starting to score. So I'm like, okay, I'm not playing them under anymore. Here's where you got to change and you got to analyze and go, Army is not a 20-0 team anymore. They're scoring 40 points a game. So when you get them in a game against Miami of Ohio, now instead of going under 57, I'm going, give me Army minus, as long as it's under a field goal. So under 2. So I like that. Ohio State laying 49 to Akron. Jesus Christ. How do you lay 49? And the funny part is they should cover because of the loss to Oregon. This is the game they're going to run. Henderson will run. Master Teague will run. The third stringer. The kids in the locker room will play. The recruits will play. They're going to put up 65 points at least on Akron. And Akron is not a very good team. They're not a good scoring team. They're a Z team. They score a little and they give up a lot. So I look for Ohio State to win by 60 on this, but I'm not laying 49 here or 43, but just my thought on the game. Boise, Utah State. Boise laying 9. I really like Utah State in 15. Again, they're Arkansas State, so they're a very explosive team, and they just beat somebody good last week. Who the hell did they beat last week? I was very impressed with that win. Utah State, give me a minute. Air Force. They beat Air Force 49-45. Air Force is a real good team. So here you got them against Boise. Boise lost to UCF, who passes the ball pretty well. Boise on the road laying 9 to an explosive Utah State team who just beat an Air Force team, and they're at home. Yeah, I don't know. I'd call this an upset, but I like Utah State in 15 all day. They're too much of an explosive team, but the books haven't caught up. Here's where I excel. The books haven't caught up to Utah State yet, right? They don't know how good they are. So therefore they don't know how to the line's wrong. Boise should never be a 9. I got Boise laying 7, and even that's probably it should be a 6 or a 5. But because of Boise's popularity in Utah State, you got Utah State bad spread here. Definitely live dog Utah State in 15. They could easily win the game. So Boise doesn't scare me like when Kellen Moore was there, and I bet Boise all the time. Kansas Duke. Duke laying 16. Absolutely love Duke in this game. Kansas sucks, right? Kansas is a Z, no offense, terrible defense. Baylor killed them. That was my lock last week. Baylor laying 17, and it was so I only had to lay 11 against Kansas. Thank you very much. That was probably the easiest lock of the weekend, next to the Ram, which should have been an easy lock. Made me sweat a little bit, but the Rams ended up winning. Duke laying 16. Now, I just watched the Duke game from Northwestern, and Duke, man, they got a hell of a running back, good quarterback, smart. The coach is Cliff. He's good with quarterbacks. Very explosive team at home. They're only laying 16. You only got to lay 10 against Kansas. Thank you very much. Kansas. Their quarterback does not throw for 125. Okay, so you got a quarterback. Either he's a running quarterback, which is what you get a lot of these dual quarterbacks who can't throw, but they can run, like Lamar Jackson or some of these other quarterbacks. And Jalen Hurts and all these guys that are fat. I don't know if that's the issue with Kansas, but possibly. I mean, how do you not throw for 125 in today's college football? But he doesn't. So you got an offense that stinks, right? And here's Duke, and I'm watching them against Northwestern, who's fairly good Big Ten team. Not great, not like last year, but they're still well coached and everything. And you're only laying 10 against Kansas all day. Thank you very much. I love the line. Probably somewhere in the 20s would have been a good line for this game. North Carolina, Georgia Tech. North Carolina laying 12. I had it minus 14. Georgia Tech looked okay against a weak Clemson offense. Their defense was okay, but you don't have. I mean, the Clemson's quarterback can't throw the ball. He's not a very good quarterback at this point. He might be later, but Trevor Lawrence, the reason he was so highly touted was his freshman year. He came right in, boom, boom, boom. This kid is not very good. Turns the ball over. And, I mean, for them to only get 14 points on Georgia Tech when Northern Illinois beat them 22-21, I mean, man, that's just terrible. North Carolina, I was watching against the Virginia Tech who was it? Virginia game last week. Watching the highlights, they lit up Virginia, who's much better than Georgia Tech. They just got the quarterback. They got great fast receivers, a fast, good, solid running attack. So when you get a real balanced team like North Carolina, here's Georgia Tech will not do a lot against it, right? And North Carolina is going to put up 50 points against Georgia Tech. I think they'll put up 50 points against everybody but Clemson. Georgia will keep with them. They don't have that any type of offense. I didn't do the ACC yet as far as bad quarterbacks, but I don't think their quarterback's very strong. So again, North Carolina laying only 6 points to Georgia Tech. They need the game. Here's where the beauty of the schedule. They lost to Virginia Tech, so North Carolina cannot afford another loss. Same thing with teams like Clemson, Ohio State, for different reasons, not to win the conference, but to get into the playoff. They can't afford to lose. So you don't have that letdown worry, right? That's what happens, right? The team gets surprised. The normal way that teams get upset is a strong defense, right? The defense buries the team, and then the other team with the good defense gets enough offense and they win 20-17. Like Nebraska, Oklahoma last week, Nebraska's defense looked incredible. And really, when they lost to Illinois, it wasn't their offense, but their offense fumbled and gave them 14 points on turnovers, but not the defense. So Nebraska is a very strong defensive team. The problem is all they got is Martinez, and all you got to do is spy him, and then they're screwed. But anyway, take North Carolina here, only laying 6. Another potential upset: Indiana laying 9.5 to Western Kentucky. Penix, I thought, was a great quarterback last year. He gets injured, hurts his knee, and this year he's terrible. Like Mackenzie Milton, you get that serious injury, it's hard to get over it, and then you got to get your timing back and get your confidence back, and he doesn't have it. He's Indiana. He doesn't even throw for 125 a game, if you can believe that, right? He's under the 125 mark. So Indiana is not scoring, and their defense has not been sharp. And I'll tell you, Western Kentucky, they got the best quarterback in the country right now as far as stats. He throws for like 500 yards a game, a lot of touchdowns. They put up a lot on the Army's defense, which to me is better than Indiana's defense. Indiana, I don't know. I had Indiana laying 3 here. They're laying 9.5. I love Western Kentucky getting 15.5. I mean, that's just absolutely, again, I know I have my critic who wants to get me for taking Buffalo, Nebraska, but this is why. Here you've got these teams that are better, and not that Western Kentucky would be a big Big Ten team like Buffalo, I thought, but they can score. When you get a scoring team, the only thing that stops them is if Indiana can put pressure on the quarterback all day, right? And you continually blitz him and he has no time, then he's ineffective. That's how they lose, when the good defensive team puts pressure on them. But I don't see that from Indiana. They're an under team. They just don't score a lot, and they have a fairly good defense. But with Western Kentucky, they're going to score, and you're getting 15.5, and you're at home against Indiana, who's not really dominating. I'd be afraid if it was Michigan, they're going to run it down their throat and ball control them. But I don't have that fear with Indiana. So I like Western Kentucky, another live dog, getting 15.5 all day. Let's see. BYU laying 23 to South Florida. South Florida is probably one of the worst 5 teams in the country. Absolutely. Quarterback under 125. They're a Z team, an under team, and the fact they don't score and they give up a lot of points. BYU just beat Arizona State and Utah, and it's going to be a picnic for them. It's going to be a picnic for them, only having to play South Florida after playing 2 good defensive teams in Utah and Arizona State. They're an independent, so they keep winning. They're not going to – this isn't a letdown game for them. This is like, okay, let's kill South Florida. South Florida's terrible coached, bad quarterback. So unless Quentin Flowers returns there, this should be a huge blowout for BYU, probably 50-10 or something like that. But here, where the other game I was telling you, the 35-point game, the Coastal Carolina UMass, you got to cover 35 down to 29. That's a lot. You tend to bring in your backups. You're up 47-7. You're bringing your backups in. BYU is 23. You're only laying 17. So even when you bring your backups, when you're up 47-17, it's not the same. You only have to win by 17. So BYU should be easy winner in this game. Here's a good over-under pick. UCLA Stanford. Okay, now I had UCLA with Fresno State was my lock over last week. I won it midway through the fourth quarter, even though it was like, you knew both teams could score. They were just turnovers or something that was happening in the game where it all of a sudden they weren't scoring. But they got 40-37 Fresno State. What does that tell you? So when you watch a 40-37 game, what does that tell you? It tells you UCLA's defense is not that strong. They're giving up 40 to a very good Fresno State with a very good quarterback. And so they can score a lot because Fresno State's a pretty good team. They played Oregon, I think, 28-21 or 35-28. Oregon goes and beats Ohio State. So how good's Fresno State to play Oregon? And it was a close game. I mean, it was, I think it was 35-28 or 28-21. It was very close. So Fresno State's a very good team. And here they put UCLA to the test. Well, I'm now watching Stanford USC. Stanford puts up 48 on USC. They're bringing a new quarterback. This kid looks great. So you've got Stanford, who is okay, very strong offensively all of a sudden, against UCLA, who we know scores a lot, and their defense isn't that good. The over-under, now here's where the over-under makes the bet, right? If it's 67, I'm not going over in this game. It's 58. Freaking 58. Are you kidding me? Again, here's a huge Vegas error. And my pet peeve is when people say, "Oh, Vegas knows what they're doing. They always get the spread right." And I'm like, what are you talking about? They get the spread right. They get the spread wrong so many times. And let's keep in mind what the spread is. The spread is not making the game even. It's making the betting even. So they look at the game. They go, okay, who's gonna bet on this? UCLA's a 5.5. We're gonna get more money on UCLA, but Stanford beat USC. How they come up with 58 is an average because Stanford lost 24-7 to Kansas State. So that average gets in, but they're not looking at the change in quarterback, and they're not looking at the way they blew out USC. They scored 41 last week, so they're scoring 40 a game now. UCLA plays a 40-37 game with Fresno State. So you're looking at teams that score both in the 40s. I mean, you're looking at a 70-point game here. It's 58 down to 52. I'll take that all day. I mean, what's the score they're anticipating with the 58 in this game? 24-20? I mean, are they out of their minds? UCLA, I know. They put up 40 on LSU. So I'm not worried about them scoring. They got a great running back, good quarterback, good offensive-minded coach, and an average defense. And the same thing with Stanford. They got a great quarterback all of a sudden, and they score a lot, and their defense is okay. But UCLA they scored on LSU, will score on Stanford. So only to get to 52 seems like a joke here. LSU Florida State, you got to watch McKenzie built. And right now, this would have been a lock before taking Florida State as a home dog. Like I took them against Notre Dame, but they lost to a Division II team. Milton just does not look good. He's still recovering from the injury. And at this point, I would just watch and wait till Milton plays 5 or 6 games and gets his confidence back and gets his level back. But right now, they're not, he doesn't look the same. He's a great quarterback, but he had a terrific knee injury. So you just got to wait. And this is a game to watch, not jump on Florida State as a home dog. But he'll get it back, and you just watch Florida State and wait. Alabama 45 over Southern Miss, another one of these huge spreads. And the funny part is the over-under is 57. So I don't even know how you get there. So what you're thinking 50-7 game, which still doesn't get you to 45, 52-6, 52-5. That's the score they're predicting. 52-5 puts them winning by 47 and 57. Southern Miss is terrible. I got them as an under team. They're a quarterback under 1.5, and a weak offense under 300. So you get no offense at all from Southern Miss. And there's terrible offense. So you have a team with no offense. We've seen what they just did to Florida. Alabama scores on anybody. They're going to put up their 40 points with no problem. Even when they bring in the backups, it doesn't matter. They're happy to play. So Alabama's going to definitely get 50 points if not 60. Southern Miss, they just don't have any offense. It's a big number, even in a teaser, 39. But even with LSU, here's where Alabama, even their second team comes in. They want to play because they're fighting for playing time. They want to look good. Saban's got them all. You give 100%, even, if you're out there. And, is he going to pull in the rein? Is this an assistant of his coaching Southern Miss? I don't know. But Alabama's gonna kill this Southern Miss team. They just don't have the offense. So even when they bring in the reserves, as I was talking about the other game, they don't have the offense if they wanted to score. Alabama will probably second teamers will blitz them and sack the quarterback. You'll have at least 2 fumble or pick sixes. So fumble, 2 defensive scores. They'll put up another 35, 40 points on offense. This will be 60-7. I mean, so even though it's a 45, here's where you don't look at the line. You just go, all right, Alabama's playing Southern Miss. What do you think the score is going to be? Forget the line. What's the score? And the score you think of with Southern Miss, they have no offense. They have no quarterback. The defense ain't going to stop it. It's 67-0. It's if you just pick the score, right? Forget the line, and then you look at the line. Now the line's a little high, but 39. They're going to win by 40. And I know Alabama has a hard time in these games where they tend to not cover. I don't know if they're fixed or what, where they'll win by 30 even though they're laying 40. That happens a lot with Alabama for some reason. But I don't think here. I just think it's 67-0. This should be a massacre. Here you got Wyoming playing Connecticut minus Wyoming laying 21, I believe, over under 55 Connecticut. So you got a B team that doesn't score a lot. But Wyoming's a good team with a good defense. Quarterback's okay. Connecticut's terrible, but they've been scoring a little bit lately. Tiny, like against the Army, they put up 21. So it's enough to scare you. Here you're only laying 15 in a teaser. The game's at Connecticut. Wyoming, again, very good defensive team, but they don't score a lot. So this is a game you might play Wyoming, laying the 15. They want to get the win. I just see their defense dominating the game, but I don't know how much their offense can score. So it might be like 31-3 or something like that. Again, it's not an easy laying 15, Connecticut with a late touchdown, so you got to be careful with there, but Wyoming should dominate the game with their defense. My friend James Lee or James Little, would you take Texas Tech in 10 versus Texas? And yes, the answer is absolutely. Texas Tech has the Utah State coach when Jordan Love was good. And then he went on to Texas Tech, and the new coach screwed up Jordan Love. I thought Jordan Love was very good with this coach. So I don't know. That's what the coaching does. So now here they're playing Texas with their new coach, Sarkisian. He doesn't know what to do. Texas's quarterback does not throw for 125, okay? And I double-checked it. So he obviously is a running option quarterback. I don't have Texas as a strong offense, so it's a learning scheme. Again, they're bringing in – when you bring in these option quarterbacks, you screw up all the players that are there under Sam Ehlinger, right? Ehlinger was a running quarterback, but he threw. He's more of a Russell Wilson. He wants to throw, but he could run if he has to. Texas is laying 9.5. You got 10. So you get 50. You get more than 2 touchdowns. Texas Tech is explosive. they're a good team, good defense, good offense, an over team that score a lot. Texas, I don't know. I mean, they got killed by Arkansas, and then last week they beat Rice, which is again a high school team. So you can't look at the Rice game and go, "Oh, I don't hear they beat Rice." You've got to just, okay, Texas is playing Texas Tech. Give me the final score. And I can see this being a very close 30-27 game. And I don't think it'll be like Arkansas, where Arkansas blew them out, but it does give Texas Tech, it shows them how to beat them. Rice couldn't do anything with it, right? They're a terrible team. They don't know how to take advantage of it, but Texas Tech does. Very well coached, quarterback friendly, strong offensive mind. Texas Tech should score. They should be a very good team this year. Last year, they weren't with COVID, but this year, the coach has them playing their ball, and they're playing very good. So, yeah, I think they're a live dog. Again, I've got better plays, like, take BYU or take North Carolina as a better pick. But, yeah, Texas Tech getting 15.5, 16 is certainly a live dog here. There's no home field. And the only way you lay 16s against a real weak team with a weak defense, but Texas Tech does not have that weak of a defense. And Texas Tech should be able to move the ball, and this game should be a pretty close game. So, yeah, definitely. Put it this way, would you take Texas -4? Do you believe Texas -4 is a winner? And I would not be comfortable against Texas Tech thinking Texas -4 is going to be good. They don't have Earl Campbell anymore. So no, you can't. I wouldn't feel comfortable that Texas is going to win the game. So therefore, how would I wouldn't take Texas -3.5 or 4. Texas Tech must be a good play. That's how you kind of look at it. Give me the game, pick the score, and then let's look at the spread. And sometimes you get the spread on the right side. Iowa State, Baylor. Iowa State laying 7 to Baylor. Baylor's a very strong team this year, a high-scoring team, a well-balanced team. They can throw for 300 and they can run for 300. That's what I like. It's very hard to defense them. Here comes Iowa State, a team that does not score a lot, and they're favored by 7. My line, I had Baylor -10 in this game, was my line. They got Iowa State -7, and I'm like, what the hell is that? They got killed by Iowa, the only good team they played, and then they beat some hack team, 49-0 last week. See, here's the key about gambling. People only look at last week's games, right? So you look at Texas beating Rice 49-0, and it inflates the spread. But if this game was, the Texas game was done after the Arkansas game, Texas Tech might be favored. So people only remember the last week, but you got to look at the whole body of work. You got to look at the team. How good is the team? I don't know if I'm having technical difficulties or not. I see I'm kind of freezing up, and I apologize for that. Now I seem fine. So sometimes I get some internet problems, but I seem to be still on. So if I do, I apologize. Anyway, so again, pick a final score, Baylor, Iowa State. Close 24-23 type of game. I don't see Iowa State scoring that much. Baylor will give Iowa State all they want. They're better than Iowa offensively. So I look at Baylor, 27-24 type of game, and you get 7. So now you get 13. Absolutely like Baylor there. Tennessee, Florida laying 20. Florida showed me something against Alabama. They were able to score. I thought they were just a running team. They showed some good offense. So I like Florida's offense. Their defense was pretty good. After Alabama went up 21-3, it then became, they held Alabama in check. So their defense is very strong. Tennessee, I got them as an even team. They'll score 24. They give up 24. Not a great defense. Not a great offense. I don't see their offense doing much. Florida's off of a loss against a team they're very familiar with, Tennessee. Tennessee is okay. They're not great. I like Florida only laying 14. I don't It's not a great bet, but I see that as what's happening. Clemson, North Carolina State. Clemson I show as an under team. They don't score and they got a great defense, and you don't score on them. Against North Carolina State, who had all kinds of trouble against Mississippi State, they couldn't score. I have North Carolina State sort of as a weak B team, so they score more than they give up. But I don't, their defense is okay, but I don't. Clemson has no offense. So Clemson's like this year's Army. So I look at it and I'm like, man, this will be 20-10. This will be a low scoring game. The over under is 49.5. You can go under 55.5. There's no way North Carolina State's going to score much on Clemson because they couldn't score much on Mississippi State, who doesn't have nearly the defense. But as Clemson's showing you, their offense is terrible. Their quarterback's terrible. And this isn't, they're on the road, so they're going to play defense on the road. And just look for this game to be low scoring. I can't, honestly, I don't know if Clemson can win the game with their offense, but their defense will keep them in. It'll be very low scoring. Nebraska, Michigan State's an interesting game. I don't know. Michigan State looked very good against Miami. They have very good balance on offense. The new running back looks great. I don't remember him at Wake Forest doing anything. Where's my magazine? So let me quickly look at Wake Forest, ACC. And let me see what this kid did last year. Excuse me. Okay, Wake Forest. So last year, this kid rushing, Kenneth Walker III, 119 attempts, 579 yards. Wasn't even their best runner. Some kid named Christian Beal Smith, who's on their team this year, ran for 732. And just Justin Ellison was 30 for 113. So Kenneth Walker didn't do anything. He only 119 attempts, 579 yards, 4.9. He did have 13 touchdowns. So the kid was not, he didn't rush for 2,000 yards. It's not Barry Sanders, but he looks freaking good. On Michigan State, he looks very good. Nebraska, again, great defense. This should be, I got it low scoring. The over-under is 51, but I don't love anything about this game. I had Michigan State -7. They're -5. Do I want Nebraska in 11? I don't think they can score much. Michigan State looks like they got a pretty good defense. I know Nebraska's defense is very good. They'll key on Walker, but the quarterback looks good, Thorne. So they're very balanced, Michigan State. Two good receivers, a good running back. Nebraska did hold Oklahoma down, so Nebraska will play good defense. But the problem with Nebraska is Martinez is it. There's no running attack. There's not really good receivers. So if they spy on, which they will, like Oklahoma did, there's no offense. So I can't bet a team that doesn't have that relies on the quarterback to run, and he's the whole thing. Michigan State will spy them, and Michigan State's defense looks pretty good. So I can't take Nebraska in 11 because if Michigan State seems to have a much better offense and an equal defense, which leads me to go under because I don't think Nebraska will score much. And it was an under game with Oklahoma. So 51, under 57. I don't love it. I'm not playing it, but that's the only way I could play this game until Nebraska shows me, until the guy shows me UCF offense. That's not what he's got here. It's funny how he's got Mackenzie Milton and they score 100 points at UCF. He comes to Nebraska and he's got an option quarterback. And you're like, okay, you won with a Mackenzie Milton. What are you doing with this guy? It's just amazing. And then he wonders why he can't win. Well, his quarterback's the problem. That's why he can't win. Auburn, Georgia State. Auburn laying 27. Georgia State's one of these kind of a weak team and not a lot of offense. Was putting up a lot of points. They play a good Penn State team. It's about what I thought. It was a close game. See, those games you like to tease the dog. Auburn, Penn State, tease the dog. Here, Auburn, after a loss, should put up 1,000 points. They've been scoring a lot. I like Bo Nix. Georgia State, doesn't have a prayer. I mean, they just don't have the defense, and they're not going to score enough. So here's a case where Auburn, you cut them to 21, probably a good play. Buffalo and Old Dominion. Buffalo laying 13. They played Nebraska. They couldn't convert on third and short. They didn't have good passing. They got better last week against Coastal Carolina and Grayson McCall, and they were getting 14. That's when the lock should happen. A home 14 against Coastal Carolina, not at Nebraska, but still, I like the Nebraska game. And I liked them last week against Coastal Carolina. Now they got Old Dominion. Now Buffalo has lost 2 games in a row. Buffalo is a well-coached team with a lot of good players. Here they're in their hemisphere at Old Dominion. Old Dominion is a W team. They don't score a lot. They have a fairly decent defense, but not like a Nebraska. Buffalo should – all they got to do is win by 7. Are you kidding? Buffalo should dominate this game after 2 losses. They'll be obviously it's a do or die for them. Fortunately, they haven't lost in conference, so I still look for them to win the MAC, but they need this game. They can't lose 3 in a row. And this is, again, for your formula bettors, you cannot put this in the formula. How do you put this in the formula? Well, after a loss, add 2 points. After 2 losses, playing Old Dominion, add 10 points. I mean, this is why you can't do formulas. And believe me, if you could, I would do it. But you cannot formula to pick games. You have to look at all the intangibles and all the variables. And this variable, a team that's well coached, that's lost 2 games, you can't look at the numbers. Players are good. The coach is good. They're pissed off after losing 2 in a row. Last year there was Z. If they even played, I don't know if they even played last year. Please wait while we're connecting. So I don't know why my internet's so unstable. I don't know if to talk or not. Okay, looks like I'm back. So Buffalo again is there's no freaking way to lose an Old Dominion. It's just not going to happen. They're too good of a team. They're too well coached. They got 2 good players. And Old Dominion just isn't strong enough. They don't scare me like a Coastal Carolina who has Grayson and a good offense. Old Dominion doesn't. They don't score. So this is a game where the spread. My spread, Buffalo minus 28 over Old Dominion. The line minus 13. Okay, there you go. So pick the game. Pick the final score. Don't look at the numbers. Buffalo. Maybe 54-7. Look at the line. It's only 13. You're laying 7. I love Buffalo here. This will be revenge for the Nebraska game. See, if you wait long enough, you get your revenge. And let's see. Washington and Cal. Pick the score. Give me a score. This is where Washington blew out somebody last week. It was not a very good team, but they blew them out and they got confidence. Now they're at home against Cal, who's an even team. I'm not crazy about Chase Garber as their quarterback. Washington, I don't love their quarterback. It's a tough game. I had Washington minus 10 because I think they got better players than they're showing. And just, I don't know if they have a new coach or a second-year coach. I know they had the guy from Boise, but he's gone. So I just think Washington in a do-or-die game, lay the 1, but I'm not playing that game. It's just a game to watch. And the last game is Oregon, Arizona. Oregon laying 29. This is a conference game. They beat Ohio State. They show they can score. Arizona is a terrible team. They're an under team in that they don't score a lot, but they do give up points. Oregon obviously is an over team. They obviously score a lot. I look for Oregon to kill them. They're laying 29, but I don't love it. I think it's a little bit too much to really bet on, but I think you watch this, but I think Oregon definitely in conference puts up a lot. Arizona, I mean, well, let's see what their quarterback looks like, but at this point, they're not a high-scoring team. And you saw what Oregon did to Ohio State. That's an upset. So Oregon, very good team, and they'll score. They can run. I like their quarterback. He looks good. They can run it all over Arizona. So when they're going to run, see, the defense is good. When the defense, if they were playing Nebraska here, I'd be like, oh, okay, be careful. Well, maybe Michigan State because Nebraska doesn't have offense, but a team with Nebraska's defense could beat Oregon. And you saw Ohio State did not have that Nebraska defense. Their defense is a little weak this year. But in this case, Oregon should beat them pretty good. This will not be an upset. But, again, late in the game, will Arizona score a late one? It's a lot. It's a big number to lay in conference. I'm never comfortable 29, but this is the best team in the conference, Oregon, against the worst team in the conference, Arizona. So probably that. So my pick is we're going to go with Marshall in the 13.5 Thursday, and let's go with the Army laying the 2. So that'll be my pick for you. Although you've got my recap on all the other games if you're interested in those games. Any other thoughts or comments? You can feel free to write them. But what you're looking for, the best way to bet is to look at the game and make the pick. Don't look at the line. The line confuses, and the line's not accurate. The line does not make the game even. It makes the betting even. And even now, I'm still like shaking my head because it's not like it used to be when I was growing up. But that's what the line is. So pick the game without the points, without the spread. Then if you see a nice spread that's way off, like the Buffalo game, that's what you're betting on. Then you go, wow, this is way off. This is how I pick. Now, the critical thing is, how do you arrive at your pick? Well, you use history and you look at how the team is the last few years. Do they have a new quarterback? How's their defense? Do they have new coordinators? How do they do lately? Like Stanford. Stanford started out losing to Kansas State. Oh, they stink. They beat USC. Then they win the next game. You're going, well, maybe they don't stink. This quarterback looks good. They're scoring a lot of points. Okay, this is not the team in week 1. This is now the new team. And that's how you got to keep looking at it and analyzing it, is what do they look like lately? Okay, the new quarterback looks good. The coach has been there for Stanford for a while. Fairly good defensive team. Again, they lost to Kansas State, was out of conference, so they have a chance to win the conference. And that's what you got to keep in mind. It'll probably be them in Oregon for the conference title, but in the beginning of the year, it wasn't. So you have to make your adjustments, but you got to realize they're not making the adjustments on the line properly because they're looking at the average. So they're taking that 7 points against Kansas State. You don't take it. They're looking at the average when you play a high school team, right? So when Nebraska beats Lehigh 62-0, that gets put into the averages. So when you're looking at over-unders and the number, like the Michigan State-Nebraska game this week, Michigan State was a blind team this year. They got all these transfers, a new coach who, his first coaching was he was the defensive coordinator. Georgia goes to Colorado. They suck. Then you got COVID last year, so you don't know. Now this year, now he looks like a pretty decent coach. I didn't think he was because of what happened in Colorado. He looks pretty decent. Quarterback all of a sudden is a superstar, Thorne, because his childhood friend that he played with since 6th grade is on the team, and the other guy, the running back from Wake Forest, who did nothing last year, looks like Barry Sanders. So all of a sudden, Michigan State is not spread right. That spread against Nebraska is not right. They are a much better team. Going on the road at Miami showed it, beating the Northwestern, and Northwestern played Duke, and they played pretty well. They didn't look terrible. So Northwestern is not that – they're not a Division II team, right? They're Northwestern, they're Big Ten. So they beat 2 good teams and on the road, which makes even more sense. Here you got them against Nebraska. It wouldn't surprise me if they beat them by 3 touchdowns, even with Nebraska's defense, because I don't think Nebraska's offense is going to get them there. But they do not have the right spread on Michigan State. I guarantee it. It's at least 6 points off from looking at the average. And again, they're just doing math formulas, looking at the average, going, Nebraska. And Nebraska's getting too much credit for scoring 62 on Lehigh, right? So if they lost to Illinois, they lost to Oklahoma, and now here you go against Michigan State. They should be at least 14-point dogs, but they're not, because the 62 for Lehigh gets put in and it screws up the average. So you've got to take that out. You got to just say Nebraska in 2 games, they lost to Illinois and Oklahoma. Michigan State beat Northwestern and beat Miami on the road. They're a much better team. So this is how you analyze, and this is what you're looking for when you're doing your analysis. So the first thing you do is study, has the team changed? Who is the team this year? And that's why I rank them. So when you hear me say it's an A team, it's a Z team, that's this year. Last year, UConn couldn't score. Now they're scoring a little bit. Massachusetts couldn't score. Now they're scoring. When UConn scores 21 on Army, I'm taking notice, going, maybe they're not as bad as they were the last couple of years. So you got to take all that into consideration. You find new Z teams like Southern Miss, Louisiana Monroe are the worst teams this year, and so that all changes. So the teams change. Ohio State's not as good. Clemson, no offense. Take that in consideration. LSU without Burrow and all that isn't as strong. UCLA looks like a superstar team. Stanford now looks like a superstar team. So look at what you have now and rank your teams. That's what I do, and I do that for me to make picks. I'm looking for A against Z. So I'm really looking for the weak teams, like the Kansas game, the Baylor-Kansas lock last week. Kansas is weak. Baylor scores a lot, is balanced, right? Baylor's good offense, good passing, good running. They're going to score a lot. You're not going to shut down a team that can run for 300 and pass for 300. You can't play defense. You don't know what they're going to do. If they put 6 in the box, you're going to run on them. If they put 8 in the box, you're going to throw on them. You have the capability. So therefore, that's the team you're looking for. So you're looking for a good balance, run and pass. You can't defense that. And then good defense and good quarterback and the coach. Those are the keys. That's what and then when they play Kansas, who stinks, Kansas is terrible again, and they go beat them 47-7. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for that outcome, and you're looking for that good team against the weak team at the right spread. You don't want the 49-point Ohio State spread. How confident can you be? Are they going to let up? They can be up 50-0, which is, okay, let's relax. And then they score 2 touchdowns and they don't cover, but they're up 50-0. How hard can they play up 50-0? That's the problem with it. But when you're laying 14 and you got to win by 8, and you're playing the Kansas was 17 down to 11. All you got to do is win by 11. So when they got up, they're up 47-7. Even if they let down, okay, 47-14, you're still way up. That's the beauty of that point of the shallow point spread. So those are the games. I've given you a ton. I'm not betting all these because it's too many to bet, but that's how I do it. I break it down. A team, Z team, W team was kind of like a Z team. They score a little bit more, maybe not as weak defensively, but I'm looking for weak defenses. Defenses gives up 40 points a game. When they play a good quarterback or a good offense, then I know you're not stopping the offense. The team that gives up 15 points a game is going to stop the good offense, and that's what you worry about. And so really that's the key is can the defense – Can the offense move on the defense? That's really what you're looking at. That's the whole key to it. And if both teams are fairly even, and that's when you take the dog. Like Marshall tomorrow against App State, it's an even game. There's no way they're stopping that Ali kid, man. He's a stud running back. Again, I'm trying to think of he's better than Chocolate Eclair from LSU. He's just a real quick runner, and the best I can do is Hill from Kansas City, who's lightning fast, but he's a receiver. This kid's a running back, but he's small. He's like 5'8", but man, he's so fast. You can't stop him. And they got a good quarterback. So the Marshall App State game, I have even. I'm getting a touchdown with it. So I get 13.5. If you can get an 8.5, 14.5 is even better. There's no way that spread's way too high. And you got a live dog, normally a good defensive team, and they good offense, good running back. They're going to score. So that's really what you're looking for in trying to predict. Please don't listen to these idiots on the radio or TV who give some stupid opinions that they're trying to coerce you into playing a game or giving you an angle that doesn't mean anything. I hear it all the time on the radio. I'm driving to go swim, and they do the football. Here's my picks, and I turn it on. I don't want to hear it because they don't know what they're doing. One guy was like, I don't like Michigan, so I like the other team. The other guy says, I don't like Michigan State, so I'm taking Miami. What kind of logic is that? I had Michigan State last week, and I'll tell you this week, I'm scared to take Nebraska. I won't take Nebraska. The only way I'll play the game is under, and the only reason I play it under is Nebraska's got an excellent defense. And really, believe me, Michigan State will not let Martinez beat them. And Nebraska's got to figure out a way to get other players involved, but they don't have any running. And Martinez can throw a little. That's their only hope. But Michigan State's for real, strong defense. They'll be right there. They'll give Ohio State all they want this year. It's a balance. They got a great runner and good quarterback and good receivers and a good defense. They're going to be hard to beat. They're probably like a normal Penn State team with a good quarterback. They can run, they can throw, they got good defense. So think of Michigan State as Penn State this year. We'll see about Michigan. They haven't thrown the ball. What I like about Michigan State is they're throwing the ball. What I don't like about Michigan, they're running it. But what are they going to do against good run, like against Michigan State? They're going to have to throw the ball. Can they? Probably. I don't. It's funny. The guys on the they're. Why should you show what you can do? Well, you show everything to let the team study you, right? You just reverses. We got to practice for reverses. We got to practice for options. The whole thing. That's what you do. But I don't buy. Well, we don't show everything. So we'll see against Rutgers. But basically, Michigan State is a very strong team. But you've got to realize they weren't strong last year. That's the lesson here. Is that's what you're finding. Baylor, good team. Texas Tech, a lot better. But what's the spread? Well, Texas -10. Well, why is it -10? Texas lost to Arkansas by 30 points. Where are you getting that Texas is a good team? Because 5 years ago they won. 20 years ago with Vince Young, they won. I mean, it's the betting, right? People in that game are going to bet Texas more than Texas Tech. That's why Texas is a bigger spread, because you're going to pay to bet them, but I know you're going to bet Texas. And that's what you got to get out of your brain. You got to look at the game, pick the score, then look at the spread. And to pick the score, you got to look at the stats. You got to say, well, let me see the team. And they score 30 a game, they give up 10. Oh, well, they're going to be a good team. But again, you got to make sure these high school teams they play. That's why about week 5 or 6, the high school game that they played is really thrown out. And then you're looking at against the good teams. And then you really get a good feel of, okay, this team's that. Now, Alabama, we know. Florida, we now know. Georgia, we know. Ohio State, we know. Clemson, we know. So all the big names we know. We know Clemson's not going to score a lot. Ohio State's not as strong as they've been. Penn State looks good. They beat Wisconsin at Wisconsin. We'll learn about Wisconsin Notre Dame this week. It should be this is 2017, right? This is very close. You tease the dog in the game, and this will get you good. If Notre Dame wins this game, then they're a very strong team. And if Wisconsin wins it, then Notre Dame's really not that good because of the Toledo game. And that's where the Toledo game screws your mind up, because you're going, well, they barely beat Toledo. Yeah, but they did beat Toledo, and then they beat Purdue, who's a much stronger offensive team. And they did get the wins, and now here they got Wisconsin, and they're going to get primed, and they're going to give you their best. This is the best effort Notre Dame has as a dog. And here they go against Wisconsin, who doesn't have a good quarterback, and they run and play defense. And believe me, Notre Dame will find a way to throw the ball with these screens and these crossing routes and all the bullshit that Notre Dame will do, and you'll see them score on Wisconsin, keep the game close, come down late in the fourth quarter, and somebody will be kicking a field goal to win the game. Wisconsin does not blow out Notre Dame in this game. It's just Notre Dame's got too many good players. They're too well coached. Good quarterback. Who knows Wisconsin because he just played there. So that's the hidden thing, right, is when the coach used to coach that team or the quarterback used to play for that team, and now he's on this team. And you're like, oh, he's going to know the whole system. So he knows all the weaknesses. So you have that going for you. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Definitely like a lot of games this week because I'm getting more comfortable with the teams, who the weak teams are, who the good teams are, even the teams like Buffalo who lost to Nebraska. This is the hardest part about gambling. You make a bet on Buffalo against Nebraska and they lose. And you've got to have the balls and the brains to say, yeah, but Buffalo is a good team. And now I got them where I want them against Old Dominion, only laying 13. I'm only laying 7 points. That's where you've got to have the balls to now not hate Buffalo, but look at the situation and go, no, Buffalo should beat Old Dominions. It's not very good. I like Buffalo here. So you've got to be able to bet against. You can't hate the team. You can't have emotion. Like they say, leave emotion at the door. Is Buffalo a good team? Yes. Are they good coached? Yes. They have a quarterback. They're working on their receivers, but against Coastal Carolina, they got that salt. They scored 22 points against a good Coastal Carolina team. Now, Old Dominion, they should be able, now if Buffalo loses this game, now you say, okay, Buffalo's just not very good this year. But I don't buy that. I think they are. I think they're just adjusting to losing Patterson, but I think they're still a good team. And against Coastal Carolina, it proved that they're pretty good. So that's what you got to look for, and that's what you got to have the balls to come back with the game that you lost, right? Look at Green Bay, New Orleans, right? Green Bay gets killed by New Orleans, but I was all over Green Bay. I almost locked them last week to beat Detroit because Detroit sucks, and Green Bay off of a loss is going to be emotional. But I already know Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. So that's what you got to look for. And that's why one of my methods is off of a loss. So look for Florida off of the loss. Look for Buffalo off of 2 losses. In college, I'm talking. That's what you got to look for. And you're looking for just reasons to bet. Why should I bet this game? You got to have a reason. You got to have a score in mind. That's what you're looking for. That's how you gamble. And you got to be very careful. You got to bet small, increase your bankroll, then you bet more. You can't go ahead and just bet a ton on one game. You lose and you go, I'm done for the year. I lost one game. There's so many good games to bet, but you got to know how to handicap it, what to look for, and everything else. All right, everybody, www.teaserking.com, 25-unit pro lock going Sunday. I love it. Absolutely. Strong lock. I'll probably have a college lock of all the games I gave you. I don't pick them all, but I will have, as I said, the Marshall Army will be a play on my pick. And then what I tend to do with the lock, like last week, LA Rams was my lock over Indy. I played them in 2 teasers. I had Baylor as my lock. I had them in 2 teasers. That's the advantage. You play the lock in a couple teasers because if they're a good bet, well, let's bet them again. And or you could have played the locks in a 14 teaser and you would have won 5-1 on a 14 teaser with 4 locks. So I'll probably have one college lock. I got to get the feel of it, but the pro lock is definitely out there posted. So it's www.teaserking.com. Go to the site. I put all my history up so you can see that you can see here who I'm taking in most of the games, but then you go there. And again, you don't know, I'm not playing all these games, but then you don't know how strong I'm playing or if it's a lock, but I do want to help you if you're like James Lill going, do I play Texas Tech? Yeah, you play Texas Tech, but I probably won't bet that game because I got others. I'd much rather bet a Buffalo or a Marshall or an Army or North Carolina. There's games to bet, but then there's better games to bet. So what I try to do is weed out the weaker games and go with the stronger games. Again, looking for strong teams against weak teams or strong offenses against weak defenses. That's what you're looking for. Okay, everybody. Good luck. Have a great weekend. The Marshall game is tomorrow. And the pro game, I don't know that I'm going to play the Thursday pro game. I'll probably just play the Sundays. But anyway, good luck to everybody. If you have any questions, please go on the site, www.teaserking.com, and there's an email, and you can certainly email me there. Okay, good luck to everybody. Have a great weekend. Thank you.